Welcome to the Toilet Podcast.
Hello, I'm Trashykins, and welcome to the premiere episode of Zone 91. Welcome my new co-host Rista for this, and she was about to say an opening before I interrupted her.
Just so the listeners know, I would definitely be referring to this podcast as the Toilet Podcast. If you guys haven't gotten to that book yet, well, I feel that's good. That's a good thing. I'm sorry that you have to go
here. It's a safe place.
Safe space, guys. Okay.
Yeah, basically, they find a toilet.
The book is about a toilet. And, yes, the toilet book. Okay.
Okay, and...
Luckily for everyone, that is not what we are going to be talking about, because K.A. spent a good 100 pages talking about that, so I think we're good and covered over there.
Until we get to the 14th book.
Great.
Then it's all crap. And this basic summary that I wrote down like maybe 30 minutes ago of the first book is the Animorphs get their powers, form a group, and unsuccessfully attack the Yerk pool. And now we're actually going to delve deeper into that.
Yay for morphing. What is morphing?
You have an animal.
Christ.
And you touch it, and then you think of what it means to you, what it is, and then you acquired it, and then later you can morph into it. And I have 3 stuffed penguins here.
That's brilliant. Yeah. The main topics we're going to be covering are dear old Elfangor Serenio Shamtool. Dude, I totally remember that. I need brownie points for that, like Animorph points. And Jake's leadership skills.
Yeah, you get Sponge points. I think we'll start referring to them as that.
All right, so.
I get to start.
You do get to start. Good luck. I'll be here eating my trail mix.
Oh, fuck you too. Okay, Elfangor arrives in his little Andalite fighter, and each of the Animorphs has their own basic reactions, with Tobias being the one who, for some odd reason, seems to not fear Elfangor at all.
Even though he's like a furry. I fear furries, personally, so I admire Tobias, but I can't do that. Good job, Tobias. But it's for, reasons that we later on discover, which we will not reveal here.
Elfangor is his father. And that little miss, it's a little shit. I have strong feelings, damn it. But yeah, we'll cover...
How do you pronounce it, Levi?
What?
Ellimist. How do you pronounce it?
I say Ellimist. I don't think there's an official pronunciation. As me and Keetor discussed in this week's episode of With Extra Happy, there aren't official pronunciations for a bunch of Animorphs names and species, so there ends up being like 2 or 3 ways that people pronounce some names.
I love it. Okay, sorry. Back to...
It's okay, don't worry.
Back to Bird Boy. I'm very tangential.
And Tobias feels such connection to this alien that he doesn't know is his father yet, that he doesn't want to leave Elfangor's side. It's like part of him knows that there's, like, he has a chance at a family, he has a chance at a father, which he hasn't had really ever. He thinks his father left him, his mother died in a car crash, and he's sent between 2 abusive relatives, an uncle and an aunt. So it's like part of him thinks that, hey, now I can have a father. Like, here's my actual father. I can have, like, a nice little birthdays with him.
Birdseed cake. Or like, the little fish cutlet things. Cuttlebone. There we go.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'm like maybe little rabbits as treats.
Yeah, it's definitely like a really strange connection that obviously none of the other ones have. Um, that comes from, it's his Andalite heritage manifesting itself.
It's like his Andalite heritage also sort of manifests when he's a bird and he feels so superior to other birds.
Oh no.
Your Andalite is
Oh,
showing.
Andalites. That should we should coin that. We officially name that like a Jash phrase? Your Andalite is showing. I'm gonna use that maybe with my other Animorph trash friends. Hello, shout out to you guys.
I don't know if someone else used that on Tumblr or not, but yeah, your Andalite is showing. We'll get that all over shirts. No,
Oh
we'll
yeah.
merchandise this.
How much will it cost? 20 of your dollars. Oh,
The Your Dollars Now Axe. I'm gonna
I
go.
am. There is somebody outside of my quad currently having like an emotional crisis while smoking a cigarette, and I really hope he's okay. Sorry, sideline, but
Okay.
he looks very emotional, just like Tobias was. Look, there's our connection.
Yeah, that was totally not a
Relevant.
meaningless tangent.
Okay.
And Tobias stays with Elfangor so long that Elfangor is able to import some memories. No,
Mhm.
obviously not all the memories. Like Tobias is flying around in the first book thinking, "Hey, I'm going to totally see a Yerk pool." Like it's a regular pool like at the YMCA.
I spy with my birdie eye nothing.
We shouldn't pick on Tobias. He's awesome. He's the best.
He is the best. Good job, Tobias.
Jake, who Rista will talk about more later, is also feels this connection to Elfangor. Of course, not as great as Tobias, but it's like everyone in the group feels a connection to him. And I started to sort of wonder if maybe that's the Elmist playing around, because what we learn later on in the series, yes, there are a shit ton of spoilers here.
Yeah, we'll tag it earlier on.
Yeah, tag spoilers. So, and that the Elmist actually chose all these 5 kids except Rachel. So all of you Cassie haters that say that Cassie is the mistake, technically Rachel is.
That's.
And
I'm,
so,
I'm gonna no
maybe
comment.
that. What?
No, keep going. No comment.
Okay. Yeah. That maybe the Elmist is manipulating their feelings so that they will actually, go up to Elfangor and become Animorphs and fight off the Yerks.
I really think about that a lot, to be honest. The Lemus role in like placing them, in not just in choosing them, but like literally all the manipulations he's done. And I think that he might have structured it so that it's the subtler things like their basic human compassion for like a suffering creature that drives them, so that he doesn't have to do as much work or like interfere as much.
Totally don't interfere, but I'm going to kill this guy just so it'll be easier to manipulate these 5 teenagers.
Yeah. Oh no, I think that's really heavy too, because like with the death of Elfangor, he's basically passing the responsibility of like the saving of Earth onto Jake, onto this little 12-year-old kid.
13. I go with
13.
13.
You're right.
Of course I
13.
am.
Your Andalite is showing.
Thank you. Continue.
Yeah, basically the Lemus sucks. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding, actually. Anyways, other other yeah, it's really awful because like in that moment they're giving like Elfangor is kind of like, I know this isn't my area of expertise, but Elfangor is kind of this pivotal like role of authority because he's like telling them everything that they need to know, even after later they're scared and the Visser is like gloating and turning into his whatever animal, getting ready to eat
Ron
Elfangor.
Bog. You
Thank
gave
you.
me that quote before the podcast.
I have short-term memory issues, and he's giving them strength, and he definitely is that like. Imagine him like if he had survived, he would have been such an interesting mentor figure to them. But it's like the giving of something and taking it away like almost immediately has that kind of effect that we talked about earlier.
Elfangor, besides the kids' reactions, Elfangor himself is very noble. There's a law in Andalite society called Ciro's Kindness in which Andalites will not give out information to other species such as this scaffold device, aka the blue cube, aka the morphine box or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he sees that everything is so lost that he's going, I'm going to just break this law because it seems like hell's going to break loose anyway, so what's the worst that could happen?
Fuck the Prime Directive, he says. Fuck it.
God damn it, I need to get away from these Trekkies.
Hey, there's no escape.
Resistance is futile.
Etc., etc.
And I was reading it through like the second or third time for this podcast, and I had seen Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was like, what if Elfangor like pranked one of the cow? Rocket was going, hey, we totally need that guy's leg.
Damn it. I'm sorry. My Wi-Fi just cut out and I missed like most of what you said.
Okay.
I heard Guardians of the Galaxy and Rocket. I love Rocket.
Yeah, but I was thinking
that's a pretty...
I was thinking, what if Elfangor maybe pranked the kids at one point? You know how Rocket was like, hey, I totally need this guy's leg.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, that'd be so funny if, what if Elfangor what if in an alternate universe...
Oh no.
What?
Like there are parasites taking over your world and you're all gonna die, and then he's like, psych.
Psych. No, I was just the idiot Andalite just flying around and I accidentally crashed.
Just because you're that much of an asshole, you're just like, guys. Oh, that's evil. Okay.
That would be such a good AU story.
I feel like this is a little, like, denial, denial of all this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're right. I don't know what I'm talking about either. Animorphs makes me so happy, and the ending just, so happy. Happiness. Why would I need denial when I have this gem of permanent jubilation?
And finally, after the sarcastic person stops, I'll finish the last bit of the Elfangor. I would have gone on for longer, but we have a time crunch. Thank you, Rista.
Mouth shut.
And when Elfangor dies, which, if you don't know, you poor little souls that think, oh, Animorphs is just a cute story with kids fighting off evil aliens by morphing into animals.
Go back to Ben 10, kids.
Yeah, Elfangor dies not just by getting killed, but just not like getting shot. He gets eaten alive by Visser 3, going into horrendous morph. And even while he is dying, he has enough control to give peace to the others, like sending calming emotions. And he fights to the bitter end until he gets eaten. He's trying to, attack with his tail blade with it, which is useless against Visser 3's morph.
I'm going to pull out a short quote to emphasize this. Quote begins, Visser 3 stepped right up to the Andalite. I could feel the Andalite's fear, but rather than cower, he fought the pain of his wound and climbed to his feet. He knew he was going to die. He wanted to die on his feet, looking his enemy in the face. Heavy stuff.
Yeah, that's like, oh, this is totally a kid's story. Like, that was my first fandom. I never knew happiness, in other words.
Quote of the day. I never knew happiness.
Now to go on to an even happier topic about Jake.
Oh, yes, the happiest protagonist in the history of protagonists. Has such an easy time. Okay, well, during my little reread, I was, one of the things that AK definitely states the entire time, over and over again, is Jake's, like, automatic in as a leader, and he doesn't want to be, but he has to be. But it's interesting because she kind of puts it in there since the beginning. I'm thinking specifically an instance where he's, like, preventing Tobias from getting his head flushed down the toilet, and he doesn't really, like, he doesn't seem to think much of his role as a protector. Direct quote is like, I told the two creeps to step off, and ever since then Tobias figured I was his friend. Like, his language is so casual about it. So he definitely begins as a decent person, protector figure, so it makes sense that he would fit in later. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the fact that he's kind of like a little, one of the links I see between him and Elfangor, god damn it, and Elfangor is their kind of like central role, or like the role as like kind of some of the centerpieces. I'm not saying that, the other Animorphs are like sub-Animorphs or anything.
Well, definitely not Tobias. Maybe Marco.
Hey! Step off. No need to shade Marco like that. No shading. No shading allowed. But, I don't know. Jake is kind of like the link, because I really doubt that anybody else would be able to call them up like that. Jake has a link to every single person in the group. Jake and Marco, friendship present since, like, whenever Jake and Tobias, Jake's saving Tobias and kind of, like, allowing him to exist in his space, which, isn't, like, super saviory or anything like that, but it's still, I don't know, I guess Tobias is kind of taking what he gets, Jake, Rachel, they're cousins, and that's how Jake knows Cassie. Yes. So central link, both of because his character and like his relationships with people. That is also like a really weird coincidence. We could talk about the Illumis there, but I think I'm going to leave it to human decisions because it's nice to think like that. Fun quote from Jake is the split up, I said, trying to sound like a leader. And I laugh like this because he's already like, he's like a little kid trying to fit into the role of a leader, which is what he becomes.
Yeah, he turns.
But it's just, he's just so aware of what other people's expectations are of him. It's like when you're doing like a group project or whatever, and you're like the only one who feels like being responsible at the moment, or there's somebody else who's like taking control or whatever, and they don't really want to do it, but you kind of have to.
My most recent memories of group projects were me getting kicked out of the group without anyone telling me.
Ouch.
Like, they wouldn't update me to say, hey, we're going to be meeting up for the group project here on this date at this time.
Tell them you don't appreciate their fascist Andalite ideologies. Use big words. Use big words.
I had to go up to the teacher eventually to, stop the shit. Like, say, hey, what can I do even though my group mates are total shit heads, but can for another day when I'm drunk.
Visser does and eat them. Just eat them alive. Solve your problems.
Well, I watched
Warning,
Hannibal.
I do not actually condone the consuming of other members of the human race. Just a little asterisk there. Yes. Yeah. I mean, personally, I put out a lot of quotes about Jake, about his intentions. Some of the choice ones are the first the moment when he's the one who gets chosen to go on the ship. The quote is, "We all looked at each other. Who is going to be the one to go inside the ship? Somehow we all seemed to agree it would be me. Actually, I didn't agree, but everyone else did." There's Cassie telling him.
Little shithead.
There's Cassie going and telling him that he's not scared, even though he's like scared peeless, because there's like a dying alien telling him that his world's gonna get taken over by a bunch of little slugs, which is enough to, make me feel a little down.
Yeah, a little down, and of course he can't refuse from Cassie because it's like, I need to impress this girl that I am totally not having a crush on and want to marry.
Like, she's so cute, I gotta go in and touch the alien cube thing. Oh man. Yeah. I think it's another, I don't know, one of the parallels I see between Jake and Elfangor is his acceptance of like the truth of him being fit to be the leader of the group. And in a sense, he kind of like volunteers for the burden of it. And there's certain times of the series, really emotional times, where he almost seems, he's like about to fold. He's gonna give up. There's a part very close to the end where it seems like he's just done. But I think it is a conscious choice that he makes, to keep taking the role on and taking everybody's worries on and putting on the little front that he's not, once again, scared peeless. Yes, he's making decisions for the people he knows and cares about. And that's I feel that that's one of the driving forces between his motivations, not just Tom, but for his fellow Animorphs. It's very personal for him.
Oh.
Thus ends the Jake rant.
Oh, the Jake love. I don't know if it'd be a rant because there wasn't much Jake hate.
Yeah, interestingly enough. I'm glad. Good job to all of you keeping hate out of the tags. Keep doing your thing.
Okay, we have one viewer. We had 2 viewers at one point.
Hello, we love you guys.
I don't know if it's Jock early or not because he tends to watch all my podcasts live for some reason. So whenever there's one viewer, I always assume it's him.
Aces.
Okay, well, since that's all we had planned for today. Okay, you still don't have time. Damn it. It's like the universe is saying we don't want this. And we have to go.
I have 10 minutes. Do you want me to go on about his duty-like behavior and ideology?
Maybe. Yeah, if we can do that within 5 minutes of your leaving time so we can have a outro.
All right. Well, I don't know. Last little points. We can keep drawing comparisons between Jake and Elfangor. I don't know. What I said before about his do-the-like behavior and ideology. He often says things like, I have a job to do. His motivation to fight is at first, his idolization of Tom and his freeing of him. He recognizes that he doesn't have to do this in response to Tobias urging him to morph early on in the series. And it also holds true for his leadership. He knows he doesn't have to do this, yet he feels his obligation to.
I liked the whole Tobias convincing Jake because we always think of Tobias as this, I'm not going to, get physical with anyone. But he pushes up against Jake. I mean, he's like...
Yeah, he's a very good, not a foil, I think that scene's also like incredibly powerful. Jake crying, realizing that Tobias has like given almost the ultimate sacrifice for the fight, and he has to honor that. He has to honor his personhood.
Hawkhood.
Awkward.
I'm just gonna go.
All right.
That's a
That's
horrible pun.
Can we suggestion for future episodes, you end it with the sound of a flushing toilet.
Okay, hang on. Let's see. Flushing toilet. Yeah, if I actually film this in a bathroom, I will totally do that.
Oh, yeah, luckily my roommate left for this thing, so I was able to have the room to myself, which is very rare. So it's like the fates were smiling upon me because they didn't give me enough time. They're like, you have shit to do, Rista, but we will give you this room to yourself.
Yeah, so next episode we'll actually finish up talking about the invasion. Rista will talk about Marco because she's a total Marco girl. And I, being a total Tobias girl, will talk about Tobias.
For the record, I stand mostly for Kryak. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Mar-
fuck.
Marco for life.
Marco for life. And do you have any closing words?
Ram the blade ship.
Until next video, goodbye.
Until then.